All right, so that's where the garage door used to be. I got the metal siding up and the trim around the windows. So from the outside, this part of the job is pretty much done. And I gotta say, it was the hardest part I've done so far. Working with this metal siding is just not fun at all. I don't have the tools to cut it properly. I ended up having to use hand snips to cut it. And going around the windows and stuff with hand snips was really, really difficult. And then the metal frames around the windows didn't turn out too well either. I didn't do a very good job at that, being it was my first time. And I ended up having to paint the trim around the windows because it got all scratched up and I didn't want it to rust. So from this distance, it doesn't look bad. But the other issue is that when they put the siding on the house, when they built it, they had the siding going from right to left over here. And then when they started this side, they made it go from left to right. And these siding panels only fit together one direction. So they basically flipped the panels over going from left to right. And it didn't matter because where the garage door was, there was an opening. So there was no need for a seam. But in this case, I either had to repanel the entire side of the house or live with the seam. And you can kind of see it right here. You can see that gap in the center coming up. And the reason for this gap is just that this form of the curvature is different if the panel is going this way versus this way. And I had to put the seam somewhere. It was either put it here or put it down there. Maybe I should have put it down there, I don't know, but I kind of thought it would blend better out in the open. I don't know why, but that's what I did. The good news is water may get right back here, but I overlapped it enough. So this panel goes clear over to here underneath. So there's 18 inches of overlap here to keep the water from getting behind and into the wood or whatever. And then of course it's all house wrapped behind there also. But these, you can see that I had to paint these window frames, and they look okay from a distance, but you can see how it's pretty ugly up there. You know, when you get up close, it's not so hot, and it kind of defeats the point of getting metal if you've got to paint it, because this stuff here is baked on. It'll never come off unless you scratch it. But I'll probably end up having to repaint these things, I don't know, every couple years or something. See how well the paint holds up. Other issues, you know, like some of these, just because of the way these all lined up, I had to put screws in on the side, which you're not supposed to do with these panels. You should put them just straight in. But to kind of close these gaps, I had to put them in on the side because things didn't line up. And getting them up into the soffit was a trick. I thought I could just slide the panels up, right up into there, but they don't bend. It's not like a piece of plywood or drywall or something where you've got a little bit of flex. So there was no way to slide them up there. I had to take the whole soffit down. And in the process of taking the soffit down, the metal is flimsy. It all bent. And you can see there's gaps and deformities and stuff around. Especially when you come down here, you can see the seams up there. I don't know. You might not notice them if I didn't point them out to you so much. From a distance, you can't really see, but it's not perfect. It's far from a professional job, that's for sure. But all in all, it could have come out worse, I suppose. It's going to be warm and cool when it needs to be, and it's dry, and there's no critters getting in, that's for sure, because I've got closure strips at the very top across there to keep stuff from getting in the attic. And then down at the bottom on the inside, it's spray foamed. And then on the outside, I've got these rocks overlapping the bottoms of the panels. The way this whole house should have been built is you're not supposed to have these panels touching the ground, because they're going to eventually rust down there also. You know, it's only a matter of years before this all needs to be replaced. You're supposed to have a J channel across the bottom that's above grade, above the ground by a couple inches. And the reason that wasn't possible with this house, I guess when they built it, the reason they couldn't do that is because the foundation is so low. I mean, it's right up on the ground. If you come over here, just to give you an example, you can see that's the foundation right there. I mean, it's what, 3 inches, 4 inches at most. That's all you got. So the panels have to overlap that to keep the water from wicking underneath and inevitably not touching the ground, because if you got to overlap the top of the foundation by a few inches, they're going to hit the ground. So yeah, the next thing on the outside here though is this whole area. You know, years down the line I want to turn this into a screened in porch here. You know, there's an entry door there that'll take you into the office, bathroom, bedroom area. And all of these panels will need to be replaced also. You can see how they're all rusted down here. And that's because there were horses living in this space for the longest time, and they were peeing on them and kicking them, and then tools and bricks and everything else gets scraped up against them. Like these are all together eroding away. So all these panels will have to come off, and then before I replace the wall panels, I got to do the ceiling as well, because eventually I'm going to want to do the ceiling, and the ceilings always have to go in before the walls, just because of the way everything fits together. So this is not a top priority, but the next outdoor stuff I do will be putting the ceiling in here, and then putting in these walls properly. And then when I take these all off, I will put in a piece of J-channel across the bottom to give it a proper base. That way I won't have to worry about any issues here. And this stays relatively dry from rainwater anyways, because it's under the overhang. And then when I put these windows and doors in, I had no idea what I was doing, and they're completely wrong. You can see how this slopes down and it slopes down again. All this stuff should have been brought out 1.5 inches, because that's how these pole barns are framed. So when these panels come in, if I were to just bring this panel across, it would be overlapping the window trim. I didn't realize that, so I just kind of monkeyed it around with this crap and this fake wood inside here. So what I'm going to do when I replace these wall panels, take all this off, and then I'm just going to frame the window out. I don't want to remove it, but I'm going to frame it out 1.5 inches so that when I put the new metal on and it comes across, it butts up against a window trim. So this will just be like a window that's set in 1.5 inches. Won't be too bad. And the door, I could leave it as it is, because the door frame is actually on the outside like it should be. So if I just replace this with regular trim for metal siding, then that'll look nice up against there. I won't have to mess with the door. Just have to take this off and all this little bits of quarter round. Anyways, it's a long explanation of what's next on the outside, but I'm not doing anything on the outside until I get the inside done. So I've got this wall here is already framed on the inside. It's framed all the way across to this doorway. So right here is where it stops being framed. So really the next steps of things to do in the immediate future is to frame the inside of these walls, and then coming around the perimeter here, I won't have to do anything on the outside here. The outside here is all just fine, but all of these walls across to that electric meter, need to be framed on the inside as well. So I guess I'm about halfway done on the inside as far as the framing, if you think of it that way. And then once I get all the perimeters framed on the inside, then it's a matter of just putting the walls where they need to be for the rooms that are going inside, and the ceiling joists, and then all that kind of stuff. Long explanation, but there we go. This was the most important part to me, because that door was a thorn in my side, and at least I got that all squared away now.